of information. One philosopher said, everything is information, the advantage is done, if he makes such a definition. The disadvantage is not for practical use. Shannon, he made a mathematical theory of information. The advantage is measuring of information by formulas, but the disadvantage is only valid on the level of statistics, not more. Dembski has defined the specified complexity. It is a very good idea. The advantage is to understand systems which are made by intelligence. The disadvantage from Dembski is no clear definition of the domain, no strong conclusions are possible. Therefore, I have another definition of information. Law of nature information theory advantages are allows to formulate laws of nature. First time that laws of nature are formulated for a non-material entity, and therefore strong conclusions are possible. The disadvantage is no mathematical formulation. Let's have a look to biological systems. Does the code found within DNA fit into the definition domain of information? That is a very important question. The decoded portion of the DNA contains words that are 3 letters long. These 3 letters represent specific amino acids: adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine. There are 4 letters in the genetic code. On this picture, you see the 20 amino acids and the genetic code. One word has 3 genetic letters. It is a ternary code with 3 letters in a word. There are 4 different letters in the genetic alphabet. You see here the chemical formulas of the 4 letters, and once again the DNA molecule. In the DNA molecule, we find the highest density of information. If I would have a pinhead of this material, the DNA molecule, my question is, how many books, as you see here in the bookstore, we can store in one pinhead? I have calculated this, and it's amazing how much books we can store in one pinhead. The distance from the Earth to the Moon, there are 384,000 kilometers. The pile of books we can store in one pinhead is 500 times higher. That is the highest density we know. Another example, I have a very small Bible. Yesterday I said my heaviest Bible is 11 kilogram. My smallest Bible is only a slide. And this slide contains the complete Bible. And I have compared the density of information of this slide with the density of information in the DNA molecule. And we see here on this picture, in the DNA molecule, the information is 7.7 million times more in density. So it is a very high density in information. All the proteins we have in our body, there are 50,000 different proteins, and all the proteins contain amino acids. Here, for example, the human insulin has 51 amino acids in 2 chains. Now we are familiar with the laws of nature about information. We know the definition domain. We have learned to see if we are inside or outside of the definition domain. And now we can come to the conclusions. And you will see there are very, very strong conclusions which we can make from the laws of nature about information. Let me come once again to the definition domain. All 5 levels of information are found: statistics, syntax, semantics, pragmatics, and apobatics. And if we are inside of the definition domain, then we can make very strong conclusions. Let me come to the first conclusion. Since the DNA code of all life forms is clearly within the definition domain of information, we conclude there must be a sender. It is a very important conclusion. If somebody would say life is coming without a sender, we can say from a viewpoint of law of nature, it is a wrong idea. Total wrong. What is the conclusion we can make here? We can say atheism is a wrong idea. We can say it by using a law of nature. And law of nature has the highest level of science. We can say, if we have a look to the living systems, we find all the levels of information. Now we will get more information about the sender. What can we say about the sender from the viewpoint of laws of nature about information? The first conclusion we have found: there must be a sender. But we can say more about the sender. Since the density and complexity of the DNA encoded information is billions of times greater than man's present technology, we conclude the sender must be supremely intelligent. I had a lecture on a university in Germany, and I was speaking about the DNA molecule, about the density of information and so on. And also I was using the term sender, the sender of the information. And then a student asked me, I understand what you want to say. You will say there is a God necessary. Oh, I say, it's a very good conclusion. Very good conclusion, you have understand what I want to say. But she said, no, but my question is another one. Can you tell me who gave the information to God? Oh, very good question. No, I said to her, no problem. There is an overgod, and the overgod has more information than God has. God needs only so much information to construct and to program the DNA molecule. And the overgod has more information and gave him the information to do this. But the next question is, who gave the information to the overgod? No, there must be an overgod. And the overgod gave the information to the overgod. And so it is okay. Yeah, but there's another question. Who gave the information to the overgod? No, there must be an overgod. And you see what happened? How many gods do we need? An infinite number of gods. And each god has a little bit more information than the god before. That's what this conclusion can we make from the information we find in the living systems. What can we say about the last one in this long sequence? If we are speaking about the infinite number, we cannot speak in the term the last one, but I will do it now for understanding it better. The last one in this sequence must have all information about everything. He must know all the snowflakes on the Himalaya, all the sands on all beaches around the world. He must know what all cells in our body are doing at this moment. He must know everything about each atom in the sun, what is the pressure, what is the temperature, everything. And he must know everything about our life, everything. He has the total knowledge. But it is easier in the same way to say not an infinite number of gods. It is from the viewpoint of logic the same statement if we say there is only one God. But what is the conclusion for this one God? He must have all information. Infinite. He must have infinite information. So we can make the second conclusion about the sender. The sender is omniscient. He is infinite in intelligence and information. We can make another conclusion which is very important. Because he knows everything, we can say he knows everything at the moment. But he also must know everything in the past. But what about the future? He must know everything in future. If he would know, he didn't know everything in future, so he has not an infinite information. But we have made the conclusion he must have an infinite number of information and intelligence. Therefore, he must know everything in the past and in the future. What is the conclusion? This sender, this God, must be eternal. You see, we can make this conclusion from the laws of nature about information. The sender is omnipotent, we can also say, in the same way as I have made the conclusion in the way of information. Since the sender must have encoded the information into the DNA molecules, constructed the molecule biomachines required for the encoding, decoding and synthesizing processes, and designed all the features for the original life forms, we conclude the sender must be purposeful and supremely powerful. Where did the sender's information and creative power originate? There are two possibilities: a regression of senders extending back to a sender possessing infinite information, intelligence and power, or one eternal sender with infinite information, intelligence and power. So we know